Isn't it time you got to know your technology leaders? You're listening to Off the Record with GTRA, and I'm your host, Kelly Oakham. So grab your coffee or cocktail and join us for our casual yet intimate and thought-provoking expose on our top council members, ambassadors, technology innovators, and thought leaders. Thank you for tuning in today to Off the Record with GTRA. I'm very excited to introduce today's guest, Tracy Bigesby, the Deputy Chief Information Security Officer for Housing and Urban Development. Thanks for joining us, Tracy.
Thank you for inviting me.
Great. Well, I would love to start off by getting to know a bit more about how you started your career in being in the military.
Well, I spent a little over 6 years on active duty. I served during the very first Gulf War, and at that time, me and my husband both were active duty soldiers. My daughter was born about 3 months before Desert Storm kicked off. So soon after that, I had to travel back and forth. We were stationed in Germany. A little bit later on, after having my son, we decided that, with both of us being in the military, it may be a good time for me to go ahead and end my military career at that time, because we both wanted to have at least one parent, home with our children. So after that, we moved on to Texas and then ended up being stationed in the D.C. area here at Fort Belvoir. And that's when I decided I wanted to go back to school. Of course, I had the Army GI Bill, so I was able to use the advantage for that. So I wasn't really sure quite what I wanted to do, but being here in this area, I heard a lot of talk about information technology. I really had no clue what all of that encompassed, but I saw a lot of advertisements for Strayer University, and so I decided to go to Strayer. I earned my associate's first and then went straight into my bachelor's and got a degree in computer information systems. Right after that, the company I was with recognized I had got my degree, and they gave me the opportunity to do some web development. So that's kind of where I first got my start in IT. And it was very interesting to me. So then at some point, someone came to me one day and said, we have this system security plan. Can you review this for us? It was like reading foreign language. So it did pique my interest. So I had to start doing a lot of reading and researching, and I kind of did more on-the-job training. And that's kind of how I got my first start while I was a federal government contractor. And then with that, I, served on several different agencies and supported them. And in 2007 is when I accepted a position within the federal government. So that's basically the rest is history from there.
Wow. Well, that's an impressive beginning, and thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
What do you think is your most memorable career milestone and your most inspiring challenges?
Well, I think my most memorable career milestone was when I moved into IT. As I mentioned, it was like a whole foreign language to me. So that was a turning point in my career because no one could foresee how much IT would evolve over the years of back when I started, which I would say in the 90s. So I'm probably dating myself a little bit here and telling my age, but that's fine. But the most challenging was when I was, like I said, handed that system security plan and told basically go figure it out. So, I started doing research and I started learning more and more and more about IT security, which now more often is commonly referred to as cybersecurity. So a challenge of something like that was put in front of me. And of course, I was determined that I was going to succeed. So I just continued to keep working at it and I was working in a security operations center, and I had the opportunity to look at and get other owners of the job training with other people. So that's how it all started, and that was my turning point.
Wow. That's so fascinating to see how you kind of came throughout the years and, ended up where you are now today. It's wonderful. What do you think drives you and your passion for security?
Well, I like a challenge, and I always want to learn something new and want to be a part of innovative things. My passion was jump-started when I saw there was not a lot of women in the IT security field at the time where I got started. When I came in at the time, all of my colleagues were more so middle-aged men at that time. And so for me, that was a drive to see women in the workforce grasping the IT security concept and being able to move up in their careers.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. That seems to be the theme today. I also did a podcast earlier with Joyce Hunter and Lisa Engelhardt, and same thing, and it's interesting to see such amazing career-driven women in an IT industry that's been male-dominated. So very proud of you. What would you say What would you say are some of your most memorable accomplishments?
I think my most memorable accomplishment when I was assigned to lead an actual information assurance team when I worked for a company, it was SRA International at the time. I had been with them several years, but I was given the opportunity to excel and I was able to move up. And then I was actually given my own team of IE analysts and IE engineers. I took over a whole project. So that showed me that my hard work paid off and I had the opportunity to help shape others in their career path.
Mm-hmm. What do you think are some of the most important traits that a good leader should have?
One of the things that sticks out with me about leadership is being a good listener and being open to change. And one of the things you have to understand is that I've learned is you have to listen to your staff. Even as a leader, we don't have all the answers. So a lot of times we need to be open to what our staff members are saying and being able to accept some of the roles that they play, and they can actually help make me be a better leader. So cybersecurity, like I said, is always evolving, and we can't continue to do business as usual. So you have those young people who are coming out of college, who are excited, who are hungry. So we want to take the things that they've learned and use that to apply what we're doing here day to day with all the changes that are coming along.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Well, what do you think are the biggest challenges facing the federal government today?
Well, in the federal arena, one of the biggest challenges that I've seen that I've recently have dealt with is recruiting and retaining top cybersecurity talent. You know, I have seen some come into the federal arena only to return to private sector or contract positions because they feel like they can get paid more and they can move up a lot faster. Mm-hmm. So for those that are coming in at the lower grades, they quickly realize, you know, that's where they're at their crossroads where they're going to decide, am I going to stay in this federal career or am I going to go? And when they start seeing those numbers, a lot of them quickly, they turn around and they leave and they go into private sector. So what our agency has done is we've looked to, you know, recruit some senior analysts, but also what we've been doing is sending a lot of our analysts that we already have, some of the junior level ones, those that came in as interns, send them to training and also give them promotion opportunities within the agency. So that's been one of the biggest boosts that I've seen for my agency in the last year to 18 months.
Mm-hmm. That seems to be also another consistent top, trend and topics that are being discussed right now is, you know, how to recruit and retain top talent, especially cybersecurity talent. And, you know, so I'm glad to see what you're doing to proactively, you know, change that within your agency. A lot of companies are, trying to provide those those resources. What's your opinion on partnering with the technology sector to provide some of that workforce as contractors?
As far as partnering with contractors?
Yeah, partnering with agencies to provide that talent if you can't have them in-house.
Right. Well, of course, you know, I was a contractor myself, so, you know, I've been on both sides of the field. So, you know, there is talents out there with contractors that we're still going to have to partner with. Even myself right now, even though we promoted some of our federal staff, but some of those skills and those special unique skills that we aren't currently having done in-house, we still need to make sure we're partnering with those contractor agencies that can help support us to make sure we accomplish our mission.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Well said. Well, what do you think are the top priorities for federal government for 2016?
Well, for 2016 as a whole, I can't speak for the whole government, but when you look at the different things like the OPM breach and other things that have happened, even with the VA, one top priority I would say is to protect, as always, the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability of all data, specifically the PII. So we want to ensure that data is not compromised. You know, the hackers and attackers, they're getting more sophisticated. So we got to make sure, as I mentioned before, that we stay on top of the cutting edge to ensure all data is protected.
Mm-hmm. What are the pressing topics GTRA needs to address? And more importantly, what can we do to move the industry forward?
Well, right now, I've got involved with your organization about a year ago, and I'm so impressed with the things that you are doing as part of as the GTRA as a whole. It was really an eye-opening experience for me, and I was so thankful for the opportunity that someone introduced me to your agency. And what I'm doing is I'm already speaking to some of my fellow colleagues and talking it up and telling them they need to get involved because it's a good collaboration effort.
Wonderful. We thank you so much for your support and your contribution. And it's been wonderful having you involved with us over the last year, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again in May. So what do you think are some of the pressing topics GTRA needs to address? And more importantly, what can we do to help bring the collaboration ideas that come from the meeting together so that they actually result in change in the industry? What can we be doing after we come up with all of these, great partnership ideas between public and private sector?
Well, I think it also spans across, you have the public and the private, but also one key element that I want to highlight is bridging that gap with the Office of Inspector General. I'm not sure if you had any of those involved in your forum before, but just from the OIG perspective, I work collaboratively, of course, with our FISMA OIG team, and I think hearing from and bringing them in to bring it from an Inspector General's perspective would be a great collaboration for the private sector and for the federal sector, because we're all working together for a common goal. Of course, they're doing the checks and balances to ensure we're in compliance, but I think we need to build that relationship and that collaboration with them, even though we understand that they're independent, but we can get a better perspective of what their role is too as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a really great idea. I mean, we have had OIG involved in the past, but I think you really have made a point. I mean, we need to continue to work with them closer to have their involvement, and, a good idea. So thank you so much for your time today, Tracy. It was truly a pleasure getting to know more about you.
Okay, well, thank you, and I look forward to the session coming up in May.
Wonderful. We look forward to your contribution. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you again for tuning in. Please join us for our next council meeting and upcoming podcasts. Go to gtra.org. Again, I'm your host, Kelly Yoakum, and I look forward to your topic ideas, feedback, and suggested podcast participants. So please feel free to reach out to me at kelly@gtra.org.